This is my origin story of a tattoo apprentice.
So we have a few times promised you guys that this was going to happen, and this is now the official time in which it's happening.
Yeah, we're doing it.
So we're really doing it, and even though it's late at night and everybody is, although in good spirits, there's some tattooing going on. There's some nefarious activities in the background. So if you hear something strange, just
little riffraff.
Yeah, just let it happen. So yes, we have Haley Chaos here, and I'm super excited to introduce. This is the first series amongst many that will come of the origin story. So we're going to touch bases on where she started, who she is, what she's into, what got her here in the tattoo shop today as an apprentice, and we're going to cover a lot of the details regarding that. Needless to say, if you guys don't know who Haley is at all, you can probably already start to guess immediately what her attitude and what her behavior is like. She's quite the character. Everybody here loves her, and so we're going to touch on a lot of that, where it comes from, who she is, what are the origins of these things leading up to her business here in the tattoo shop. Eventually, the ultimate goal is to be a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what we're working towards. But we're going to step by step get you guys to the story of her being in the shop during this episode. And then the ones to come will be catching you up to where we are at now. You've been tattooing here. Well, you've been here now apprenticing for
1 year.
Yeah, 1 year. So it's been 1 year. So we'll cover that probably in the second episode. So this being first episode, let's start with who you are and telling everybody sort of your backstory and give them, actually, it's not your backstory. We're starting with your current story. So we're going to give them a little bio intro.
Okay.
So let's tell everybody who you are and what you're up to today. Like what do you got going on in your life?
Well, I'm a tattoo apprentice at High Sierra Tattoo Co., owned by the lovely Joshua Ray Farmer. Killed it.
Did it. You fucking nailed it. Okay. So thank you for watching episode 1 of the...
We're done.
Yep, we're good. So how about this? It's 2022.
Yeah.
It's the end of the summer. It's actually September now.
I know. I'm ready for fall.
Yeah, me too. Super ready. Actually, fuck this summer shit. But we made it and we did it. And speaking of summer, you did, just kind of touching on this, you beat one of your goals, which I'm just going to brag about real quick. You had a goal written down, which we all do here. Anybody that's an apprentice or even artists, we all are very goal oriented so we can measure our progress. And you had a goal of tattooing on real skin, because first it's fake skin, then it's real skin.
Yeah.
I always think of Rumpelstiltskin. Fuck. Every time. That's so stupid. Anyway, your goal for tattooing on real skin, you ended up beating what, by like a month or two?
2 months.
2 months. So that's really exciting, and we're going to let that hang there because eventually we're going to touch on that in the next episode. But again, for now, we're just going to talk about who Haley is, what she's up to. And so let's talk about some of the stuff you're into. Like, what are some of your hobbies and interests for people that don't know you at all, which is surprising. If you guys are watching this, you don't know her. If you don't know her, it's easy to find out because she has quite a social media following and presence. She loves being in front of the camera, if you can't tell. This is absolutely her wheelhouse, and so we're gonna bring her to you now. So tell us some stuff about you. Some what kind of hobbies you're into, professionally speaking. Like, what do you do in terms of career? And let's explain to people who Haley is.
I've been doing hair and makeup for about 11 years. And I love that because that was, before this place, my creative outlet. And so I get to have fun. And when I first started, I had to do the eat shit phase where you have to do everything and just trying to make a buck and getting everyone in and building clientele. And back then I was doing shit for free just to get the experience and get pictures and be like, hey, look, this is my work. I can do it. And now I've gotten to a point there where I can pick and choose what I want to do. And so I only do what I really enjoy, which I love doing, like the vibrant colors and just having full range fun with that.
That's cool. So that's specifically like hair and makeup?
Yeah.
And you've been doing that for 12 years. What's kept you in it for so long there? I mean, because now obviously you're coming into a tattoo shop and leaving that, but what got you into that and kept you with it for so long? What about it was, what was special to you about that?
Just making people feel beautiful, honestly, and like happy, and showing them how to like re-love themselves. And it sounds like kind of dumb, like I'm just doing someone's hair, but it's not. It literally like makes their spirit like up.
Transforms people.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Because I always can see on my clients when they need their hair done, they come in, they're all like grumpy and stuff, and I'm like, oh, don't worry, we're gonna fix that. You know,
right, that's gonna
And,
change.
yeah, it really does. Like just doing their hair like lights them up. Like, oh my god, I feel so much better, you know. And then with makeup, I get to do, that's a whole nother level of transformation, because I do very like glammed up makeup. So they see themselves and they're like, oh my god, is that me? And I'm like, yes, this is what you look like. I just emphasize their features.
You really like to obviously impact the way people feel naturally,
Yeah.
Which is, again, anybody who knows you personally, it's very clear. But even people that follow you online that don't know you, I think it doesn't take long for them to realize, and correct me if I'm wrong, to see that that's who you are, right?
Yeah.
They're like, that's why I want to know her, be around her, follow her,
Yeah.
be involved, you know? So with the sort of cosmetic part of it, what's stuff you've learned along the way? Like you kind of touched on, you had to kind of eat shit at the beginning to be able to get to it. Talk us kind of through that process, because it sounds very similar to what you're going to eventually share with your experience here as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was quite a process, but I liked it. I like the more challenging stuff too, which I kind of like here too, pushing myself a little bit.
Harder stuff for sure.
Yeah, I definitely like to push myself. And so I take in like, they're called color corrections, and they're people that come up with just fucked hair and their projects, but I fucking love it because it keeps me on my toes.
Okay.
Keeps me thinking and stuff, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it, but I just pulled away from it a little bit because I was missing something.
Okay. So that was kind of recent you started feeling that way? It's been a while.
Well, like, it was like 3 years ago where I was just like, okay, I'm good at this. It's my job. Like, I'm making people happy, which makes me happy. Like, I loved people laughing and smiling. So I knew every client was leaving, they're happy and stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm doing good things. It does make me happy. But about 3 years, I kind of felt the pull. And honestly, a lot of it was through COVID, because after like coming back to COVID and we were able to open again, a lot of the people that I was working with at the previous salon I was at were kind of losing like that drive to work.
Yeah.
And it's super unmotivating to be around a whole bunch of people that don't want to work, and you're just trying to like work, and then no one else is wanting to do shit.
And even work, and in my opinion, work is like baseline, like what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Working, and then better than that would be growing.
Yeah.
So like people that aren't pushing, like, and I've promised everybody that here in this, shop, that no matter what I do, that's always going to be an objective of mine. Because I know for me, that's like you're describing, it's necessary, not just to be working, although I love the hustle and I love the hard work aspect of an environment. Of course, I thrive in that, but also like, how do you get better? Because, by the way, part of getting better, they might not hear much of that. That probably sounds really bad. Camera, that was a motorcycle if you guys are listening, I think. I don't know what that was. Someone's riding something weird outside. But anyway, the hard work part of it's great, and it's infectious, gets everybody hustling. But then the people who are willing to grow, because that's a sign that they're willing to look at themselves truly and see the flaws, admit to them, so they can then get better.
Yeah.
That to me is everything. Because if you're not willing to look at something you've done and see where it could be done better, then you might be hustling, you might be working hard, but you're not growing. And to me, that's like everything to be inspired by. And so I always promise that that's the environment I'll keep here. And so it sounds to me like that's what you're kind of missing. Yeah,
I feel like I never want to be stagnant and just stuck at one level. Like, I always want to keep going, and I feel like no matter how good you are, you can always keep pushing yourself, and like that's what's going to drive me to grow as a person and, be more successful, is to not stay stagnant and keep pushing myself no matter what, like keep pushing the limits.
Does it seem like that's something you do with everything you get into?
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of those things. Like, I mean, you're into photography, right? You're, I don't know what else you would call it, modeling, right?
Yeah.
Into modeling. You definitely have an aesthetic nature to you, right? Like through cosmetics, that's going to be clear.
Yeah.
Doing modeling and things like that, and bringing your character to camera, bringing it to film, and even actually doing it here, which is super fun to do. And we have a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah.
What is that like? What about that? Like, is that part of the hard stuff? Is that part of the hard work? Is that part of the growth part, or is that something like a hobby? Or explain that to us.
I mean, it's kind of a little bit of everything. Like, it's work, but it's fun for me. But it also is like so when I started doing the modeling, I'm a plus size girl. So my goal was to motivate and show girls that you don't have to be teeny tiny to take these pictures that are sexy and show off your body. Like, I don't limit myself to style of clothes that I wear that a lot of plus size girls get stuck in, which now, like 2022, it's gotten so much better. But before, like, plus size girls would oversize themselves, like buying shirts way too big for them because they're like, no, I have to hide it all, and it makes them look bigger.
Right.
So I actually do the opposite, wear clothes a little bit too small for me, and I'm like, fuck that, I'm showing it, you know.
Yeah.
And so just to constantly motivate girls to be like, it's okay, you don't have to be a size 2,
Right.
and which size 2 still beautiful, but all the sizes are, and if you're at that size, you need to see yourself happy at it. So just, I've literally done photo shoots like through gaining weight, through losing weight, through gaining weight, you know, all the ups and
Right.
downs, and I show it all. Like, it's all, well, not like all of it, like,
Right.
not, you know,
Maybe not everything.
it's a little censored,
Yeah.
but you know, but I take more risque photos like in lingerie and stuff, but it's helped. I am a confident person, and that started young because I grew up in a family where everyone's really tiny, and my
You just weren't.
I was not ever, like ever. I was just stacked.
Yep.
And so when I was little, my family would be like, "Oh, look at a little J-Lo booty," and I'm like, "What does that mean?" Like,
Right.
you
They're not
know?
saying that to anybody else.
Yeah, I did not understand, you know. And then like even like elementary school and junior high, it was like, "Oh, she's fat. She's fat." And then when I got to high school, they're like, "Zam, girl," you know.
It is funny how a lot of women will say that during their high school years, the things that were made fun of in grade school now become the thing they're,
Yeah.
you know, that they are being sucked out for.
Yeah.
That sounds bad. That are seeked out for.
Yeah,
and
for
that
sure.
that seems to be a pretty common thing. It's like if somebody's really smart, they're made fun of until all of a sudden you want them to do your homework.
Yeah.
Or if a girl's got a big butt, you make fun of them when you're in 6th grade, but then all of a sudden in high school, you're like, what was your name again?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh, now you want to pay attention.
Uh-huh.
Or like the whole classic after like high school, all of a sudden the people are hitting you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
So I just learned how to grow that confidence young and work with it. And I was always, even on my friends, like all my friends were smaller than me, and I noticed they had way more like self-conscious issues than I did.
So you
And-
this seems to be familiar. Like you see that a lot happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, because usually I believe typically like you kind of overcome things and therefore you then see it in others and want to help them because you know you've been able to do it. Is that like part of it? Like
Yeah.
you've had to deal with it, so you're wanting to then help them to do
Yeah,
the same.
like you can do this. And like on my TikTok, that's probably like my biggest following. 90% of my following on TikTok is all females, and I have almost 200,000 followers, which is cool to me that it's not all guys being like, ah,
Right.
you know?
Bunch of thirsty dudes.
Yeah, exactly. It's women, and they're getting motivated, and they write me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you've motivated me to do this, and you've given me so much confidence." And like that makes me so happy. Like I freaking love that because, you know, everyone's their worst critic, and I hate to see women like tear themselves down. Enough of the world does that. We
Right.
don't need to do it to ourselves. So just putting those pictures out there, not being scared, and my family fully like embraces me and loves me for it. They don't give me any shit about it, you
Yeah.
know. They're just
super
like,
supportive.
yeah, they are, and they're just like, "Oh, that's our Haley." Like I've always been the little black sheep. Not, I wouldn't even say just black sheep, but just like
Right.
I've always put myself out there.
Black sheep maybe, but not necessarily like ostracized from the pack or
Yeah.
something. Like you're still welcome, but you definitely stand out.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
you're definitely a high contrast in your environment.
Yeah.
So regarding that, like, and I know we've talked about this before, but for people watching, you didn't necessarily come from a super creative, artistic background. You don't have a bunch of people in your family that are into modeling. Like this isn't
Yeah.
inspired from your necessarily, you know, your immediate environment. So where does that stuff come from? Right? Like where did you get that inspiration to be? Well, maybe it's just who you are. I don't know,
Yeah.
but like, what do you start to remember growing up that like got you into that type of stuff? Whether it's modeling or hair or making people feel good about who they are through you learning your processes and how to get over that, and then giving it back to them and doing the same. Where did that all kind of come from? Do you think?
Well, like I used to always watch like America's Next Top Model, right? And I loved the show. Like I loved watching them, and like I remember they'd always like, I want to see like their personalities come out like through the photo. Like that's what you have to do for modeling. That makes me more interested, at least, you know. And but watching that show, there was no big girls on it. They're all really tiny and really tall, and I'm like short and thick, like complete opposite, you know. And I'm like, I want to do those photos.
Yeah.
Like I've always wanted to. So even all through high school, like playing with my friends and stuff, I loved being in front of the camera and taking photos. That was always a thing for me.
It's so interesting, especially for me, because I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Like, matter of fact, you might not know it because we're both on camera here
Yeah.
saying, hey, here we are, guys.
Yeah.
But I do it for totally different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So, to name one is just really for business, to grow my
Yeah.
business, because my promise to everybody that works here and my customers and clients is to give them the best version of me possible.
Yeah.
And that definitely means in 2022 that I need to do media, I need to do social media, I
Yeah.
need to make content and share with them. I feel like it's actually not just a duty, although that's part of some of it.
Yeah.
I actually just think it's a really great opportunity. You're just
Right.
sleeping on it if you're not doing
Mm-hmm.
it. But it sounds to me like that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it, well, it's not
Yeah.
why you're saying
Yeah.
you're doing it. So I want to touch more on that because it's completely foreign to me, and maybe it is to other people watching, like they
Yeah.
don't know where that comes from. So touch more on that. Like, where does that inspiration come from? Like, being on camera, I mean, you see it in here and you see it all the time. Like, not
Yeah.
everybody has a proclivity for wanting to be that, person. So
Yeah.
what do you think what is that for you?
I think still the drive is like, I obviously like to be silly and joke around, and I like to always be laughing and smiling. And so when I'm on camera, I get to show that to people that are not just in person with me.
Right.
So it's just getting that reach out there of like, they can see I'm like a happy person, which like I literally like, it's like a magnet to me, like someone who's happy and stuff. I don't really do well with people that are super negative, and that literally is just like,
Yeah, just starts to kill it.
yeah, and I will just like bug the shit out of them and
Yeah.
just be like,
Bring it up.
You're gonna be happy. Yeah.
bring it up.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's just that reach that you can get to people and come across, and you never know, like, something so simple of us talking and when we're doing our lives and stuff can literally, like, that could be someone's reason that they're like, they feel in it with us. Like, they're
Yeah.
friends and they're here bullshitting with
Involved.
us.
So it's a
Yeah.
connection thing for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I believe that wholeheartedly too. So maybe it is for the same reasons.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that, but I'm not on camera because I'm like, hey, look at me.
Yeah.
First off, I see
Yeah.
all my flaws when I look on camera.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to get over them because I
Right.
see them as opportunities, or at least as hurdles to get over.
Yeah.
Nobody likes their voice on camera. Nobody or on recordings.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to see themselves on camera. Everybody's just super insecure about that. And I have dealt with all those same sort of emotions, I guess, related to it. I just
Yeah.
don't let it stop me
Right.
from doing what I want to do.
Exactly.
And for the very reason you just described, and like, again, with the lives that we do, if you guys don't know, we do them every week on a Wednesday. You should watch them. I won't tell you much about them, but we do them here on YouTube. You guys can watch them. And there's ways to interact with us through it. So check them out. If you haven't seen them, you can watch the last 17, I believe, episodes.
And so
And
we're quite the entertainers.
yes, so just watch it. We aren't going to tell you much about them, but what I am going to say is that people will message me and say, like, we look forward to it. Like, it's something to look forward to. And
Yeah.
sure, in life, there's mindless entertainment for sure. And there's just entertainment. And then there's sharing your energy, right? Which isn't
Yeah.
like, this is real. We're not
Yeah.
scripted. We're not
Right.
lying. We're not acting at all.
Yeah.
Like, this is absolutely, matter of fact, this is tame.
Yeah, exactly.
This especially, but especially our lives, they're actually fairly tame. You should see us the 10, 20, 30 minutes, sometimes hour before or even after sometimes. Maybe that will come out someday. We just like have hidden cams. But my point is that people look forward to it, and that feels really rewarding. Like for me, it's like,
Yeah.
wow, really? Because I think of the things that I look forward to, the things that I watch, sometimes for pure entertainment, but
Yeah.
most of the time for just, you're getting something out of it. And that's like fucking so cool to be part of, because
Yeah.
like, what if nobody did that? Well, then it would be the end of us connecting digitally online.
Right.
And I think it's a very special thing. So I like to do that. And it's of course a tool,
Yeah, of
you
course.
can use to get certain things done. And I'm sure you've had people actually tell me about that. Like, what are some of the responses you've directly gotten from people, like, that you can recount?
So I haven't had any negative responses to me doing YouTube with you, or I used to do a podcast with my best friend, and I never got anything negative. It was always positive. I get some negativity on Instagram and TikTok, and it's just little trolls on there.
Yeah.
That have
Expected.
something to say about, it's always come for me about like being plus size and like, oh, you're okay with being obese. I'm like, whatever, fuck you.
Right.
But I actually, like, every time someone comes on my Instagram and says something negative, or my TikTok, it does not bother me at all. And I 99% of the time do not even acknowledge it, because if I'm going to take the time to acknowledge the negative, that means I better be acknowledging every fucking positive comment on there.
For sure.
Because like, why am I going to give that time to a negative person, you know,
Right.
when these people that are like following me and my, you know, my diehards on there and stuff that have literally followed me from the very beginning and through all my social media outlets, I'm not trying to give that to the negative people. And I don't want to be negative to someone that's negative,
Yeah,
you know, like
absolutely.
I'm not trying to let them get to me, and it never does. And honestly, I'd rather them be negative on me because I can take it. And I'm not one of those people that they're going to be able to say a comment, it's going to tear me down and I'm going to cancel myself and get off. It doesn't affect me. So I'm like, bring it on, bitches.
And that's good too, because I mean, the best way to, you know, deal with those things typically is just ignore them, because it doesn't give any power or energy.
Yeah.
But at the same time too, it seems like for me, when I get that type of energy at all, which absolutely happens,
Right.
and it seems like certain topics absolutely elicit that
Yeah.
sort of energy, I usually look at it as a real, and it used to bother me, but it never changed how I responded.
Right. Right.
But it bothered me. And now it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I started to realize, like, somebody who sits there and complains about you being plus size and willing to wear something,
Yeah.
think of how sad their life is.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
and they're thinking, oh, you shouldn't be wearing that. And and it's not like I'm sitting here going, ha ha ha, look
Yeah.
at you, you loser. You're the one taking the time
Yeah,
to
yeah.
watch it, to see. I don't know who you are.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
watching you.
Yeah.
You're watching me.
Exactly.
Whether you like it or not, you're the idiot complaining
Yeah.
about something you could just go, delete, don't watch.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I'm not thinking of it maliciously. Truly, I'm thinking of it as like, man, like people are out there. Like people are, I mean, somebody's sitting out there
Yeah.
for 8, 10, 15 hours a day plus doing that. Like, who are they and how do they feel? And that sucks.
Yeah.
And so, like, good news is if anybody watching ever feels that way, which we do get that
Yeah.
time to time,
Yeah.
it's going to happen. If anybody's watching this, just know that, like, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but you're going to have to zip your mouth shut. You're going to have to put your head down and accept that you're a fucking idiot and that you're just a nerd somewhere locked away in some fucking cave. And we're not here to harm you. We're actually here to help you. So keep watching our shit. And in the meantime, definitely don't say anything stupid because we'll block you. But start learning from your peers, little guys.
Well, here's the thing that I've always said is happy people don't try to make other happy people sad.
Right.
You know? So it's literally like they're
True.
dealing with their own demons and just ignore that.
Yeah.
They have their own problems.
Yeah, and they do too. And that's the thing, is there's no way to help them because they have to help themselves.
Yeah.
All you can do is be you. But imagine if you weren't being you and you just started catering.
Yeah.
Well, now you're not the light that they're looking for.
Yeah.
They might not even be looking for, but you're not the
Yeah.
light they would need if they were looking for
Exactly.
it. So that's interesting to say that, because I did write down, like, in my notes, one of the things that I was thinking about earlier, which was like philosophy, because it's obviously something I'm really deep into and we have
Yeah.
really lengthy conversations about together.
Yeah.
But tell me about some of that, because we're already touching on it. But what are some of your philosophies? Like let's start with what we're talking about now. What's your philosophy about helping others and ignoring the haters, if you will? Like, what would be like? What do you think about that? Like, what's your belief about that? Like, why is that? Like, we were talking about not giving into the negativity. Why is that important to you? I mean, we kind of talked about it, but
then I'm just wasting energy on something that's not benefiting me or anyone else, you know, because it's not doing anything. All it's doing for them is giving them attention, and I can spend that attention elsewhere.
Okay.
So I'd much rather spend it towards a positive
Yeah.
vibe than a negative,
yeah,
you know, and
Let-
I get so much positive attention, it way outweighs the negative. You know,
Absolutely.
so I'd rather get back to those people, which sometimes I don't get back to them, and it's not anything personal. I'm trying, but there's just sometimes like a flood of, you know, I have all these different social media outlets. I have 3 Instagrams, you know,
Yeah.
and 2 TikToks, and, you know, then I have Facebook for my family, like, you
Yeah.
know, so just trying to like get through everything. Sometimes I miss stuff, and I do feel guilty sometimes, especially like it hits me when, you know, how Instagram has like the request folder, like
Yes,
your
yeah.
messages and stuff, it filters out. That one gets me all the time because I get some really good messages from people there that I don't see it because it doesn't
Right.
come into like the normal one, and I'm like, fuck, but it just keeps me going, especially because I get messages that like I really helped people, and I'm like, wow, like I'm just being
incredible.
myself, you know, and I've always wanted to be like completely unfiltered me. And I think I do a pretty good job at that, you know?
Yeah, definitely. That's interesting because that might be one of the things about you that's the most powerful, actually. And again, we've talked at length to this, and this goes back to the philosophy, asking like what your philosophy is. What do you think about like, or touch on that a little bit, which is you being you is the greatest gift you could possibly give the world. What is that like? What does that mean to you? Like,
I think it's cool that I don't know, that I've just been myself. Like, I don't know, all the time, my whole life.
and people respond positively to it. And impacts them in a great way.
That's awesome. I don't want to change for anyone or anything.
Right.
You know, so I've always been unapologetically.
That's a good one. That's the Rumpelstiltskin moment from me.
Me, you know, and I fucking love it.
Right. And you see the results of how people respond to it, as opposed to if you're trying to live some other way, which is like what people wanted you to do.
Yeah.
Right. And you've been in that situation before where somebody wants you to do this instead of this, but then they start to see you do well and go, oh, maybe like we all have to experience that.
Yeah.
You know, like there's some pressure that people experience where somebody will say something like as a parent or a friend, especially parents. Parents mean well.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean they're right
always.
Right? Just like us being parents, we also know that will be possible. They will say something like, oh, why don't you just do this instead? It's safer. It's better.
Yeah. Oh,
Have you ever had?
Oh my God. Yes. So my dad, perfect example. He works for PG&E. Okay. Great job. I know that. He gets paid very well. He has for the past 10 years been like, you need to go work for PG&E, and I'm like, fuck that, you know. And my mom used to own a advertising and marketing agency, so she's like, oh, you can take over my company, and I was like, send an office, fuck that. Like, no, that is not me. I don't care. And my dad would always tease me and stuff like, when are you gonna get a real job? And I'm like, I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not asking for money. I pay my own bills. I take care of my kids by myself. Like, I'm doing just fine, you know? So they kind of tease me and stuff. And then I remember one time my dad asked me, like, about my taxes or I think it showed up there because I was still getting mail at my parents' house or whatever. And he looked at it and he's like, oh, shit, you make that doing hair? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, all right. And he left me alone, you know?
Yeah. No more PG&E talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not that that's a bad job, obviously, but it's definitely not for you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not for everybody.
I would go fucking nuts if I was just in a cubicle at a call center. Like, I would get fired because I'd be trying to talk to everyone, you know?
You would ruin the place. Well, if you didn't get fired, the business would go out of business or burn down because you just don't belong in that restrictive environment. That's interesting you say that because, again, that's what we were kind of talking about earlier off camera that, you know, like, who are you and what got you where you are today? What, like, if anybody wants to know Haley you'll see right away, like, she doesn't fit a box. Like, you can't do that. It's not going to work. Put her in a corner is not going to work. No, there's no cubicles for you. And again, that's not that it's right or wrong. Like, some people want to do this, some people want to do this. And the message is that the better you do you, the better off you'll be for yourself and others. Yeah. Right. Which I believe, like, kind of part of my motto lately, especially as I'm growing older, still in my 30s.
Holding on.
Ladies. Linda, if you're listening.
Oh, God.
So, being in my 30s myself and learning a lot in life, I've noticed that as I get older, I've always been this way, but it's more clear to me that I'm living a life of more of service. And that sounds very subjective, or I'm being like subjugating myself. I'm putting myself below people. Right. And some people think that that's true, which is why I've never really been so vulgar or Rumpelstiltskin. I've never been so verbal about this situation in my life. This, I promise you, is not beer. It's just a black can of water. Anyway, it's been very clear to me. I've always lived a life of service, which means I've never turned anybody away who asks for help. Yeah. I'll turn people away who ask for help and don't fucking mean it. Yeah. And it sounds to me, again, like you're kind of that way. So I was just kind of curious because I think that's one of the things that really brings us together and being able to work well together. Yeah. What does that mean to you in terms of being of service to people?
Well, obviously, like, I get to give people something, but I get something in return. And, you know, it's that silent return. It's not like, oh, I'm posting on Instagram, I'm going to donate, you know, like that. It's not that I need everyone to know. It secretly does something for me. So when I'm giving and being there for people or motivating people or giving them a service and then it's making them happy, that's really what I'm getting out of it.
And then you doing you, again, going
Yeah.
back to you doing you the best you can, that impacts people greatly, like we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
which is awesome. So let's talk about what got you into, because we're talking about the cosmetology part,
Yeah.
but what's gotten you into the artistic path in your life? Like, full disclosure, you had nothing ever drawn, like Josh wanted to be a tattoo artist, which we'll get into in a moment, but
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, cool, Haley, like right
Yeah.
on. Like, I've known you for a long time, but
Yeah.
you don't draw. You're not an artist. I've never
Yeah.
seen anything. What, explain that to me. Like, well, I mean, it could just look like this. I've never drawn in my life. That's it. But what does that look like? Like your artistic side, right? Where does that come from?
I don't know.
The closet?
Yeah.
Like it was hiding?
Yeah, just pulled it out of
Yeah.
the back,
Because it definitely wasn't there when you were young. It's not like you grew up drawing. You weren't painting.
No.
Like at all. I mean
a
anything more than
little-
a kid.
Yeah, like a little bit and stuff, but it was never like, oh, Haley's a little artist over here. Like, no.
Never the thing.
No.
So then what is it that draws you to this industry then in tattooing?
So I would say the first like little introduction would have been when my husband was sick and we spent so much time in a hospital. There's nothing to fucking do, like at all, and so our conversations between me and him, like he was dying. So our conversations they were never negative. It was like, hey, when I get better, I want you to like design a tattoo for me because I doodled. That's all I would say it was literally doodling, and it was just to pass time. There's nothing to do. We were literally in San Francisco in a hospital for a year, and we'd get to come home for like 2 to 3 days every other week. So other than that, we were in the hospital. So I fucking doodled, and that was it. But it was just stuff that kept us going. Like he'd be like, oh, draw me this or draw me something or doodle something. And that was really it. I like to do like those mandala drawings.
Yeah.
And that was all really I doodled.
The extent of it.
Yeah. That
But
was
it
it.
sounds to me like you did it a lot.
Yeah.
Often got the time. So maybe it sparked, because I think a lot of things that are later on in life, not necessarily in childhood or adolescence, but later on in life, for things to have for you to receive massive change, you have to go through massive pain.
Yeah.
And that can be obviously coming to your life in many different ways.
Yeah.
But I do think that for especially adults, anybody over the age of like 16 to 18, for sure, for you to really disrupt kind of where you are, I think something really disruptive has to happen.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always mean it's going to work out well for you, and I don't think it always actually does.
Yeah.
But time to time, you find that certain types of people, and it sounds like you're made of this sort of ingredient, that certain types of people, when they go through situations that are very, very difficult and trying, they find a way to essentially manage it.
Yeah.
And something new pops out of that, because everything you've been doing is no longer serving, your moment in that time.
Yeah.
And so and it's almost always true. You hear people like, look, one day I found out I was sick, and so I just started doing this thing.
Yeah.
Or one day I lost my dad, or I did this, or I, had a near life, death experience.
Yeah.
A near life experience. That should be a thing. You had a near life experience right now. Look at you. You were almost there. What the heck? Go back to your Netflix. But you didn't make it. That's interesting. Near life experience. Let's remember that forever. Near life. I'm going to write that down. But
Do it.
that's pretty good, because that's when things are, they're really born, right?
Yeah.
Like you can essentially be reborn. So do you think it was kind of like that, like with the art thing?
Yeah. I think, we've talked about I'm a positive person and try to be happy and stuff. Well, my husband was the same way. And he literally had cancer, was dying, and was still like the most positive person ever. He never let it get him down. He had little moments, of course, he's fucking dying. Like,
Right, you're
who wouldn't, But for the most part, he was happy and smiling. He had the biggest fucking smile all the time, So that helped. We helped each other get through that, because we're both very positive people. And going through him being sick and then watching him slowly die, and then he eventually, passed. I've always tried to, even stuff through my childhood and teenage years and stuff, hardships that I went through, use that for like motivation to push myself and not letting it bring me down. I never want it to be an excuse for me to be less than I should be.
Interesting.
So I just definitely, that helped a lot, because he was like, towards the end when he was really sick, he was just fucking nuts, okay? And he would do things like we'd go to Walmart and he's checking himself out and he had to learn how to walk again. Like he couldn't walk, he was wheelchair bound and everything, right? Like it deteriorated him. And he's in the little like scooter thing in the store, right? And he's literally checking out and I would see him like he's doing self-checkout, not scanning things, and I'm like, hello, what are you doing? Like, you need to do it. He's like, if I can't lift it, I'm not scanning it. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
He's like,
You
I don't care.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'll do it. And then he'd just like roll away in his scooter. And so we're going out of the door and they're right by the door. There's like these little plants. And it's like rosemary thyme, like little baby ones, you know? He just grabs them, throws them in his cart. Not condoning stealing, okay? That's not what I'm doing. But this story is a true story. Throws them in his cart. And I was like, Neil, what the fuck? What are you doing? He's like, what are they gonna do? I'm dying. And I was like, fuck, all right. Like,
but that definitely tells you a lot about your guys' dynamic, though, in that scenario.
Yeah.
I can see that happening. And then you just like, fuck.
Yeah, I'm like, all right.
Got a good point.
Yeah, exactly.
Good point.
Exactly. But, you know, he still was riding his Harley to chemo and still doing all the things. Like 2 weeks before he died, we went on a camping trip for his birthday. He was super weak, but he's like, I'm fucking going camping.
Yeah.
You know, and we took our kids and stuff. So he always stayed positive. And literally the day before he died, he was on the phone because he was a hustler, right? So he sold cars, he sold appliances, TVs, all the things, did boat rentals, everything, right?
Did he ever sell rosemary and thyme?
No. Never got into that little secret stash. Just like, come back to my garden.
Come on out here. It's like, is this get these at Walmart? I grow 'em. What are you talking about?
But literally the day before, like he's literally in our bed on hospice, dying, and this guy's trying to buy a car that we had for sale, and he's like, listen buddy, he's like, I just gotta rest a little bit, but tomorrow I'm gonna get you that car. You know? Yeah. And I was like, Jesus, he never stops, you know? And I freaking loved that about him. And so he definitely like helped me know that I had to stay positive even after not having him. I had to keep that for my kids, you know, keep that going so that didn't die with him.
So it sounds to me like you got quite a few things out of that scenario in terms of you becoming maybe a different, because I think going through stuff like that, in my personal experience, you do become a new person. Yeah. Because you can never be the same again.
Yeah, exactly.
After going through what you go through and knowing what you now know, you there's like this moment where you realize, I can never go back. Yeah. I'll never be the same again. Like I call it initiation. So it sounds like you definitely understand that very well. Yeah. I don't think you have a choice, really.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and being so young, like I still have a lot of life to live. Like I have to keep going, you know? I have so much, and I want to see my kids grow old and, you know, have grandchildren, have great-grandchildren, and do all the things, and I just want to keep them staying positive, because if I'm like losing my husband, if I'm letting that hold me back and just staying stagnant and letting it could be an excuse for anyone to just be like, I'm done. Yeah. Right? It's horrible, and it's the worst thing for anyone to go through. I could easily be like, I'm done, I give up, right? But then I'm showing my kids that, and they are so young, you know, all of them. I'm like, you guys have so much life to live, so I have to show that for them. Right. You know, I have to be that lead example for them. Like, no, we're not letting this be an excuse to not live our lives, you know? Let's let that be motivation for us to keep going and do more and live our best lives.
That's very interesting. I'm glad you shared that, because I really do think that story, and just the way you tell it and the way you share the things you're sharing, I think matters more to people than you can realize. Although you're obviously very well aware that the people are listening to this going, fuck, like I thought my day was shit because my boyfriend's being an asshole, or like I just broke up with a girl I was dating for 3 months. Yeah. Like, I'm not writing anybody's experiences off at all. It's just, I think all of us know that there's times in our lives, and I think a lot of us find us there often. There's no way nobody watching this. Yeah. There's not a single soul going, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, that's good. And we all have, because you've had those people you've looked at and went like, okay. And I can do this because look what the fuck they went through.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we're all those people, you know, to somebody at some point in our lives. So I always think that's pretty magical, and it makes everything not in vain. And then when you embody the spirit that you have, which is to persevere, that just shows people like, oh shit, like I call it puddle jumping. Yeah. When you want to jump that puddle and you're at recess and you want to go like run with those kids, but there's this big ass puddle in front, and you're like, thinking about it. And now you feel, you're like, oh, I don't want people to see that I'm thinking about it. So you're getting embarrassed. And then all of a sudden, some kid runs and jumps over it and you're all, oh shit.
Yeah.
That's so possible. I thought it was impossible. It's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
And then you do it.
Yeah.
And you do it. And that's who we are for people. We teach each other how to jump over puddles that we think are rivers and lakes, and they're not.
Yeah.
It's not the boogeyman in the corner. It's just a dark corner.
Yeah.
You think it's the scariest place in the world, and
Right.
we're here to show you it's not.
Yeah.
So that's really cool, because I think that's what people would hear if they were absolutely. That's what they would get from what you just said.
Yeah.
So that's remarkable. So thank you for sharing that with us.
No problem.
I want to talk about how our relationship started. So when, like, let's just go straight to that. Like when we first met, let's do that, because now obviously
in
you're
a
here.
shed.
Yeah, it was in. It was. That's
Yeah.
okay. That's full disclosure. I definitely worked out of a private shop on my property for quite some years. Bye, Samurai. So I definitely worked in that scenario for a long time and loved it privately. It was fucking awesome. I miss it, but I so don't want to go back to it.
Yeah, yeah.
People always ask me, like, do you miss it? I'm like, of course. It was
Yeah,
awesome. It was
yeah.
super fun, but I
Lots
did
of
it.
good times. Yeah.
But now I'm, obviously moving on to different things for the growth purposes.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, that's actually the main reason why I did it. I was like, I can't just stay here.
Yeah.
Like, there's all kinds of things that can't happen if I'm just sitting here comfortably.
Right.
Because it got so comfortable. I could make so much money doing nothing with very little overhead, and I was just having so much fun. And I built a huge clientele. It was
Right.
awesome. And then I thought, no, I gotta it's gotta get harder than this, because I need to develop as a person. So anyway, let's talk about that. Like, how did that start? It was so long ago.
Yeah. Like,
We're not kids anymore.
I know.
Well, you're almost not a kid. You're still a kid.
I'm borderline.
We're borderline.
Yeah.
You're borderline kid. I'm borderline old. Jesus.
Yeah, I think it was like 12 years ago.
I don't even remember the first tattoo I gave you.
I got it.
She's got it. She's got it. Oh, she brought it with her. That is it?
This one.
God, you were so young.
Yeah, and it was just this and like just bare arms. I literally have a picture. I have to find it.
Like just
And
a
I'll
kid
put it
with this
on
little clock.
On our live, but we're both just like bare armed, just naked.
That's funny. Yeah, it was a long time ago. I mean, I was very young.
Yeah. And
You were really young.
yeah, you just had a couple tattoos, and then I was just like, yeah,
Yep.
starting my sleeve.
That's awesome. And then it didn't take long for you to want more.
No,
Like you
not at all.
started, you started getting them, and
Yeah,
and that
I
started.
couldn't wait till I was 18. I was like, I'm so pumped. I always knew I wanted tattoos. I guess drawing on myself when I was younger, I didn't mention this, but like I used to not draw on paper, I drew on myself
Okay.
because I wanted tattoos since I was little.
It was
and my
clear
mom
to you.
used to get pissed at me for drawing on myself.
Yeah, I think that's pretty normal.
Yeah.
That's pretty. Now she's happy though.
Yeah.
She's pretty proud.
They embrace it.
That's great.
Except for they're still fighting me on my neck, and I'm like, it's happening.
It's still, give it time, Mom. It's
Yeah.
coming. So yeah, let's talk about that and what that turned into. Because obviously you were just getting tattooed by me, right? I was
Yeah.
just some tattoo guy, and super handsome, chiseled jawline, super witty, smart, and rich, and famous, and really humble. Actually, so that's probably half the
Yeah,
appeal.
exactly.
And then of course, incredible artist. Like there wasn't a better one in town, so it's
Yeah.
like, why would you go anywhere else?
Exactly.
So you
I'm gonna
came
go
to me.
The guy in the shed.
Yeah. Where's your backyard, buddy? So over the years, right? We can just kind of gloss over that. Like
Yeah.
over the years, I've tattooed you a ton. I've tattooed your
Yeah.
mom. I've tattooed a lot of your friends.
Yeah.
We kind of had a lot of time together, right? Getting to know each other.
Yeah.
One thing I can say about you for sure is you are consistent. Like you are consistently Haley.
Yeah.
Like I'm serious. Like when I first met you, I remember thinking, okay, I'm only seeing her for a couple hours at a time, here and there,
Yeah.
every few years, every year, every 2 months, whatever it was, and I get that Haley.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, I don't think I've ever said this to you. I was always very skeptical of you. So I'm like, no, not like. I was just thinking, like, try living with her. I bet you would see the real Haley. And I mean, of course, I'm sure everybody has a
Right.
dynamic range and who they can be in their lives and need to be.
Yeah.
But I absolutely am convinced now that this is Haley.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't. I really truly was like, nah, she's too happy. I bet she goes home and she's like, my life fucking sucks. I'm like, nobody
like,
comes in here just like this bright ball of sunshine.
Trying to get you to do the YMCA. in the
Yeah.
morning.
Fuck. And I'm like, no, And now I'm absolutely convinced that it's 100% true. So for any of you doubting it, I can lay it to rest for you, but you can find out yourself. So I actually think that's really cool. And I don't know if I ever told you that before.
No, but that is cool to hear.
Yeah, it's cool that you have little faith. Just skeptical.
Yeah, that's fine.
And because you're a unique human.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anybody like you. Not a single soul that's like you. And so you definitely, and anybody in the shop, especially, like they will all say exactly the same. So that led you into obviously getting heavily tattooed
Yeah.
over time.
No, this is very different than earlier when we were at the front desk and you were describing me in the video and you called me abusive and judgy.
We can go there. We can go there. No, we can go there. If I couldn't count how many times you've hit me.
Okay.
It's not
Moving
possible. But we can absolutely count how many times I've hit you.
Oh my God.
That's pretty easy. Okay, so moving on. Let's talk more about your situation with getting tattooed and what led you to essentially eventually working with me.
Yeah.
Because that was never an idea.
No.
Like during you getting tattooed and
Yeah.
covering most of your body.
Yeah.
That was never a concept until when? Like what was that?
2 weeks before I started. Just kidding.
Are you being serious?
I mean, no, kind of.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
So
I just felt bored in the salon, and then I came in here because you were tattooing me, and then I saw, like, I've always known you as like a one-man show. It was my first time getting tattooed in here, I think, or maybe second, and I was like, well, this is cool, like he's not by himself, you
Yeah.
know. I'm used to like little space, just me and you. We're watching Goonies, like I was watching Goonies,
Yep.
you were tattooing,
I took the TV up because eventually I started watching Goonies, and I had to literally take the TV.
Yeah.
That's why the TV's not in here; it's on the other side of this wall.
Yeah, smart,
Anyways,
smart.
so that led us to you asking me 2 weeks, 2 weeks into you thinking. So it was
Well, I saw there's other apprentices, and I was like, there was 2 apprentices in here. One was a piercer, and then Minna, who was, doing her tattoo apprenticeship. And I was just like kind of watching them, and then I would hear them come in when you were tattooing me, and they're asking you questions and stuff. And I was just like, that's kind of like that's cool.
Yeah.
Like literally, like that's cool.
interesting.
And that's just what kind of like piqued it. And then I left it alone. But I fixated on it for 2 weeks, right? And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And then I was literally like at home just thinking, like, when you're driving and you don't even know how you got somewhere.
Right. All of a sudden you're like, shit, I wasn't even.
Yeah. And
It was
like,
autopilot.
yeah, exactly. And the whole time I'm just thinking about it and literally like imagining myself doing it. And I was like, that'd be fucking rad. Like that'd be so sick. And I would just be able to be me and, have fun. Like I totally saw it, like thought of it that way, and I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I didn't say it to anyone because I needed to know, like, am I serious?
Was
Am I
it just like a
fucking
flight?
around? Yeah, and for 2 weeks was long enough for me to, keep fixating on it, and I was like, I'm messaging him.
Yeah.
And I didn't even tell anyone I was messaging you because I'm like, he's not gonna take me serious. Like, I have no art background.
Well, you were right about that.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. You know,
knew.
I knew that. Yeah, I'm honest with myself.
Yeah.
Like,
Not a liar.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. I can't draw. I doodle.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm drawing little flowers and hearts and shit. Like, it's
Yeah.
nothing impressive. No shade. Like, just I can color inside the lines.
So you messaged me,
Yeah.
and I think you text me or something,
Yeah.
and it was something like, "Would you teach me to tattoo?" Or I want to
think I was
tattoo or
like,
something.
I want to start a tattoo apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you teach me?
I would actually love to like see it
Find the
because I
message.
wonder exactly how it went, but I think it went something like,
Very
"I want a tattoo. Would you teach me?" And I was like, "I'll see you at your next tattoo appointment."
Yeah.
Or something. I probably was like, whatever.
Yeah,
I wasn't
exactly.
like, yeah, on Monday, why don't you come and bring your notes? And
Yeah.
no, nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it took, I remember 2 or 3 at least times of you saying it
Yeah.
and me going, okay, well, come Monday.
Yeah.
Like, show up.
And it's not like I was waiting like weeks in between. I was like next day, like,
Yeah.
hey, here I am.
I even think I told some of the girls in here, I'm like, okay, so that girl that I've tattooed, like, wants to, she says I don't know, but
Yeah.
just keep your pants on, and
Yeah.
it's not, don't get too excited because I don't know. I don't think it's going to be much.
Yeah.
The moment, and some of it's kind of foggy, obviously we're all really busy and have a lot going on in
Yeah.
here. But I do remember the moment, and eventually we'll talk more about your art sort of skill and where it came from. But I remember the moment you showed me one of your first drawings, and I'm like, the fuck did that come from? Like, doodler. Like, I've never seen you do, I've never ever heard of you or seen you do art, and you admitted even as
Yeah.
a little kid, like, very little experience with it. And when you did this drawing, I think it was of like lips or something, or an eyeball.
Eyeball.
It was an
yeah.
eyeball, and I'm like, okay, well, I know people that have been drawing for years and can't do that.
Yeah.
So it was really kind of interesting. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that obviously you are technically drawing on eyes, like real
Right.
eyes.
Yeah.
You understand certain, aspects of the anatomy of it because of your background with cosmetics.
Yeah.
You understand colors and hair and schemes. Like you're really good at color very quickly in tattooing because you understand those things.
Yeah.
So you do have a background that's conducive to being a tattoo artist. It's just seemingly so unrelated
Yeah.
that I just had very little faith at first.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
So-
I know it wasn't there. That was fine.
Yeah,
It was very clear.
So what do you think? I mean, I think it's obvious, but what would you say is probably the reason why I was like, okay? Because people ask all the time,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes I just straight up say, no, I'm
Yeah.
not interested. Because they're vaguely asking. At least to me, it seems vague.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for people to come out to you and be like, look, I'm fucking stone cold serious.
Yeah.
I'm going to work here.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, weirdo. but you were like, I want an apprenticeship, whatever.
Yeah.
And I figured you would dabble and then you would leave.
Yeah.
So with that scenario, like, when did you start to think that I was taking you serious? Did it take a while? Like,
Yeah.
2 weeks ago?
Yeah. I'm yesterday.
This week? Do you? Nice. First time caller. Long time listener.
When I thought you were taking me serious.
Like, did it take long?
I think I always probably questioned it, and I definitely still had like those thoughts like, oh shit, because before I started tattooing, because I'm like, I wasn't tattooing yet,
Right.
I'm here doing like errands and
Yep.
shop work and drawing and stuff, so it's easily replaceable.
Yeah.
I would say,
Right.
So that was a uncomfortable situation.
Right. I could see that. Tell me about that too, because again, we'll go deep and, because we're going to eventually in this first episode at your experience, kind of briefing like what it was like to start here.
Yeah.
But eventually I'm really excited to get into like I think where the real story starts is like what happens when you come in here and then start developing relationships that you didn't expect.
Yeah.
Having experiences you didn't expect, accelerating maybe faster than you didn't expect. Although I think you're the kind of person. And what's funny is you and Samurai are both like this. That you're like, I don't care, I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna get it, and
Yeah.
it's not gonna take that long, and
Yeah.
I want it fast. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like hold your horses. And then
Yeah.
I see shit you guys do, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like when there's something to say about people who believe in themselves like that. That you can't really write it off very easily because sometimes you want to doubt it, but then they start to prove it, and you're like, okay, well,
Yeah.
let's fucking go.
Yeah.
And then it kind of almost kicks my butt in gear too, because maybe I'm used to apprentices moving at a certain speed, and then
Right.
somebody else comes in. I'm like, fuck, all right, well,
Yeah.
you girls can't be mad at somebody else's progress if they're
Yeah.
putting in this effort so full force. And you definitely did that. So I'm excited to eventually start the next episode at, basically day one in the shop.
Yeah.
But for now, tell me about like day one here. Like you come in, you stand around, you look at the place, you feel out of place. It doesn't feel like home. It doesn't feel like you're where you, like, was it uncomfortable? Was it like, did you feel out of place?
No. So when I first started, when we did that talk, about me even starting, you're like, if you're serious, come talk to me, and you were like, okay, you can come in this week or like next week. But I'll be gone. So if you want to wait the following week, and I was like, I'm fucking starting. Like, I'm like, let's get this 2-week trial done, And so it was just me and Minda.
All right.
Peach was gone. She was on maternity leave. And it was just me and her, which we are very much opposites,
Yep.
So I spent 5 days with her locked in the shop. And I'm not joking when I say locked in the shop.
Yeah.
You know
Thanks,
what I
Minda.
mean? Yeah.
She doesn't like the sunlight.
Yeah, no. Lights off, doors locked, just...
People start walking up to the door with it open. So she's like, locks the door.
Yeah, she's like...
She's like, oh, people are coming. I'm like, Minda, this is a business.
Yeah.
Yeah, open the door.
closing the curtains.
Yeah. She's funny. She's great. We absolutely love her.
Yes, we do.
By the way, today she fucking killed it in case she ever watches
Yeah,
us.
she did.
Minna, you're awesome. So that was a situation you didn't expect, right? To come in
Yeah.
and meet someone that's like essentially your polar opposite.
Yeah.
Like really. I would actually say that's probably even down to like the skin tone.
Yeah. Yeah, everything.
Like she glows,
Yeah.
you're tan.
Yeah.
But other than your guys' height, really, you're polar opposites.
Yeah.
Like you're like each other's, like she's, I don't want to say this negatively, but like she's your shadow. Like
Right,
she's
right.
not, you guys are just so different. So
Yeah.
touch on that for a second.
I don't know. She was definitely like me, like hiding from me, and I'm like, hey, So luckily, I think if I wasn't I didn't have the more outgoing personality, we would have just, if it was up to Minette and she would have, you know, led how that week was going to go, we would not be talking to each other. It'd be silent. She'd be playing games on her phone, and I would be on, like, talking to people on my phone, I guess, social media or something, you know. But I was like, nope, we're going to talk, you know,
That's cool.
the whole time. And so we really got to know each other very quickly. There was no one else in here, it was just me and her. And that's a long time to spend, like, 8 hours with someone all day long for 5 days.
Never met him.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Got
strangers.
bum rushed.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, and then it just ended up being true love.
True love. Love at first sight. Mom and daughter. 100%. So that was a surprise, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you didn't expect that.
No.
Even when you came in to get tattooed and maybe saw some of the girls, like, you weren't thinking that at all.
No.
Like, you weren't thinking, oh, me and her are literally going to be best friends.
Yeah, well, Minna never even spoke a word to me when I came in to get tattooed. You know, she did not talk at all.
She, like, just shifts into the darkness.
Yeah, exactly.
Haley's here. The light showed up. I'm going home. Yeah, and she still has those tendencies,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is really awesome. I mean, I must say too, like, we'll get more into that, but that's absolutely my favorite thing so far that's happened, like, in the last few years, is seeing your guys' relationship. Like, that's, to me, really meaningful, especially because you know how much Minda means to me,
Yeah.
and how special I think she is as an artist and a person. So seeing her have that, like, I mean, we're talking about a father moment. I felt
Yeah.
like 100% like warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
Like, when you guys when I got back and you're like, oh, we're best friends. And
Yeah.
I tried to be like, okay, but inside I was like, if that's true, like, my heart is full.
Yeah.
Like, I literally felt that way, and I
Yeah.
still do. And it's like, I see her and you guys, like, together, and it's like, I can't even really describe, like, what it means to me, because it's just awesome to see.
Yeah.
So again, very unexpected
Yeah.
for all of us. You seem to be full of that, but also too, you notice, like, because you know, we share a lot, so
Yeah.
you see a lot of sort of the struggles I have with getting apprentices in here and dealing
Yeah.
with people and all that type of thing, and you see my expectation, or I should say my projection. Like, I have no problem, you know, pulling a Nostradamus moment and, like, projecting somebody's future as accurate as I can, but allowing them to prove me wrong.
Right.
So I'm like, hey, I expect this, but I'm not saying, you know, fuck off.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
You absolutely 100%, which I guess is ironic too, because Minna was the other one, completely shattered that. Kind of like when I first met you. And not thinking that it was necessarily 100% genuine.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way. This girl's, no. And then you proved me wrong. And now that I'm getting to know you, it's solidified. But
Yeah.
in that scenario, it's beautiful to see that. It's cool to see you come in here and, you know, really push through things and, like, actually learn. Like, the things you're saying, I can vouch for, aren't just fancy words and trying to sound inspirational.
Yeah, no.
Like, you know, like you see people with quotes. Me and Minna laugh about this. We call it boss lady quotes, where it's like, just so overly inspirational. It's like, you're full of shit. No,
Yeah.
nobody believes you. It sounds, it's a kitten calendar, like, inspirational
Yeah, yeah.
quote. It's not real.
Yeah.
I could see how people would maybe think that you're that way, because I've not necessarily doubted that part of you,
Yeah.
but I've definitely always been skeptical of whether or not it's consistent, if it'll stay, and if it doesn't just bite me in the ass,
Yeah.
see who Haley really is. But it's really cool to see that not only is that consistent, but you genuinely mean it. Like, I don't see you doing or saying things not only disingenuine, but I don't see for any reason other than it's just true and it's who you are.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's one of the real reasons why me and you absolutely get along, is
Yeah.
I'm the same way. Like you said earlier, that you're unapologetic. And that's definitely something that I respect highly. I think that's probably something really anybody watching gets from
Yeah.
you. And they're like, fuck yeah. Like, they're like, I want to live like that.
Yeah.
Like,
You
I want to tell my dad I don't want to work at PG&E anymore. Like, this sucks. And I don't like my cubicle.
Yeah.
I don't like, now for some people maybe they do, but again, for those who it's just not meant for them, you know, you're a great beacon, a shining light that they can see and go, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think you do that for people here too. I mean, you do that for, you know, some of the girls that are working in here and people watching, I know for a fact. So that's just, like, super cool to see. So, is there anything we missed in recapping sort of your beginning intro? This is your episode 1 for the origin story, getting
Yeah.
you to here in the shop. Like, is there anything else in there that we missed out on that you would like to share or you can think of?
Ooh, the
Trick
pressure.
question. The pressure.
I know.
Do, 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 do,
Oh
do.
God.
Like, is there a part of the story that maybe we missed, or something you can think of that's something people would want to hear about or that you'd want to say? Like, even if it's regarding the art, regarding the transition, regarding like maybe your position as like you're still doing a lot of stuff, right? Like you're still like, you're not just like, oh, screw it all, I'm changing my life, I'm going to the shop and just doing that. I guess just talk about that then.
All
like,
my plates.
Yeah, let's talk about the spinning plates. Yeah, touch on that. I mean, it's a lot.
It is a
to
lot.
do.
Yeah. Well, just trying to balance, like being a mom and still trying to maintain my clients I do for hair and still doing makeup and still doing photo shoots. Now we're doing YouTube. There was only one thing that I literally had to like pump the brakes on, and it was the podcast that I was doing. Because me and my girlfriend that do it, we're on completely opposite schedules, and I'm getting home at like 11 midnight, and I'm like, do you want to still record the podcast tonight? And she's like, fuck off. I'm like,
yeah,
sorry.
Very difficult.
Because I'm in here late sometimes, but I'm just trying to like fit everything in, and you've told me like, don't spin too many plates, like you can't advance, and I'm like, I'm fucking doing it. I'm doing it. I gotta figure it out.
Get 'em.
Yeah. Like it's gotta happen right now. So just I don't know. I'm excited to pull back from other things to put more time in here. I've definitely learned how to, during this process, I guess, manage my time better. And we've talked about like firing ourselves from things that we don't need to do to give ourselves more time to put towards something that's more helpful.
Right.
So
absolutely.
That's definitely been a big part of this journey for sure.
That's cool. I really like that, because that's an experience that I didn't expect to have here too, where mentoring so many people. I'm in a unique situation in the shop. And again, I don't know about necessarily every other shop, but it seems like I get a lot of attention from people who want to learn.
Yeah.
And as I start to kind of put that flag out there, it seems to be continuing. It's not stopping.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think it's slowed down. If anything, it's exactly the opposite.
It's like speeding up.
Yeah, it's like, okay, guys,
another one's coming in.
I'm gonna open up a classroom or something.
Yeah.
But I love that. And so when you're talking about like firing yourself from a position, that doesn't necessarily mean obviously that you're like, oh, I'm quitting this thing. It means I need to be able to get something established.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody else trained, or like today you showed somebody, some new things on what they could do here in the shop, so that you don't have to do them.
Yeah.
So you can move forward.
Yeah.
Do you think that's unique to you, or unique to your experience here, or is that like something have you ever experienced that in another sort of workplace kind of scenario?
I've always been like very, I don't want to say controlling, but like controlling, like controlled my schedule, always handled all my clients by myself, and never let any reins go. Because it's like, I don't want to worry about it not getting done right or something, so I just do it. Here has definitely changed me. It's pulled me back. Definitely it's been a very humbling year for sure.
Yeah. So what's the value in that?
Just knowing where I can go with it, and even seeing my growth in the year, has been like, I didn't know if I was gonna fucking fail or not. I could have. And I fully was like, I'm fucking trying this. I can't be scared to try it. I can't be scared of failing and not try it. Keep myself from, at least trying. And then years later, I'm like, oh, I wonder if I would have been good at it. That I would have fucking kicked myself in the ass. Yeah. And so how I fixated on stuff, I'm like, I gotta do this. And now I'm working here, so I hired an assistant at the salon, so I can get more people in less days to just push my time here. Eventually I probably would have done it, but it definitely pushed it faster.
Right. So let's talk about that for a minute, because again, this is where me and you, we have these conversations at length after hours. So let's like do a little after hours, right? Because I think we've done really well kind of bringing your story up to date, essentially, to you entering the shop. Since you've been here for a year, eventually in the next episodes, we'll catch up to where we're at currently. But let's talk about a few of those things. So I'm just going to ask you some simple questions, because again, off camera, we do this all the time.
Yeah.
Why grow? Why push? Why do something hard? Why add things to your plate? Which one thing you didn't mention is like your, let's say, mental and physical fitness routine. Like why that matters. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
But why do that? Why not get, so to speak, the PG&E job like you were asked to do?
Yeah.
Or even better, why not just stay doing something that's like autopilot? You can just go, show up to work, make some money, whatever. Like, why not?
I'm not that type of person. It's not in my personality. Like, literally, I go by Haley Chaos and I enjoy the chaos, you know? It keeps me going, and I'm not a person that wants to stay stagnant. You know, I could have very well just stayed in the salon and been perfectly fine, like, paying all my bills, and even, you know, I make good money in the salon. It just wasn't enough for me. It wasn't pushing me. And once I lost that push where I felt like it was just too easy, I lost interest, you know, and not completely, like, I still do it, but it wasn't as exciting.
But the thing is, a lot of people say that with their job. I've been there for 20 years. The first 5 were great. Relationships, they say the same shit. So it's not just that you can't accept it, because a lot of people feel that same way, like, oh, I can't stand this, but they do nothing about it. What makes you what makes you do something about it?
I'm just very much like a doer. Like, I'm not just gonna sit there and talk about it. I'm gonna take action. And because I have to know, like how I told you, I fixated on 2 weeks. That was enough time for me. I can't imagine thinking about it for months and years. Like, that's just not my personality.
Okay. So how would you say, for somebody stuck in a situation like that, like, what would you say to somebody, or have you said to people where they're like, I've been at this job for 10 years and I've hated every minute of it, but I need the money. What would you say? And because you understand that, being a mom, like, you have shit to do, you have bills, you understand that completely. But what would you say? Like, what would be something, like, what would be your response to that?
Well, one, I would say, like, as a parent and an adult, like, don't be dumb. Don't just, like, I mean, you can, but I have bills, so I didn't just quit the salon and, like, hey, I'm coming in, I'm gonna, you know, work for free and learn and fuck all my bills, you know? Like, I
just
can't
give
do
up
that.
on life.
Yeah, but if you have that drive to want to do it, then fucking do it. But you're gonna have to balance, you know, a little bit. And yes, I give up sleep. Yes, I give up time with my kids and stuff. But to me, it's worth it. Like, obviously, I don't want to miss time with my son. You know, he's the only one left in the house right now, the youngest. And but I'm also trying to show him, like, no, I'm gonna fucking work hard, and you're gonna see me. Like, I need to be his motivation too, you know. So I have to just keep going. I'm young, and this is when I can work and sleep less, you know.
So what would be the benefit? Like, you wouldn't recommend somebody say, because there's a difference between being safe, being dangerous, and being reckless. I think life is meant to be lived somewhere in, like, teeter-tottering in the dangerous, reckless towards safe, somewhere in there, and then you get too close to one end, you're like, and it seems like that's kind of where we exist. So say somebody's teetering in the, it's safe, and I can't seem to pull myself out of this. Like, what would possibly motivate somebody or push them to desire getting, like, actually taking action to get out of it and be like, well, is there any light at the tunnel? Because you're going to, you know, some of these people just think so negatively and so little of themselves. Do you think that has a lot to do with why they're not pursuing?
I think they're the only one holding themselves back. I think some people are so afraid to fail, or they think, what would everyone else think, like, about me quitting my job and doing this, you know? Like, there was plenty of people that I know were thinking that, like, what the fuck, she's starting to tattoo now? Like, okay, you know? I know that, but you just have to, like, push that to the side, and I feel like those people holding back, it's only themselves. Like, that's literally the number one
So some people think, for the illusion is that the world is happening, that life's happening to you, not that you're happening to it.
Right.
So people think, for example, like, well, so many people are just so negative around me. No. People are whatever they are. You're allowing it to affect you how you, it is still you. Like, when people think, oh, the government, the world, this, that, you've just abandoned your position and allowed the illusion that they're the ones doing it. It's actually still you doing it. Or you could, since it's you doing it, you could just say, well, how about, since it's not the government doing it to me, it's me. Even though I blame them for it. Or whatever it is you blame. How about I just take control of it completely and say, okay, well, if I don't like my job, I have to then do something about it. I can't just say I don't like my job. So it seems like a hard, a rock and a hard spot for people, in my opinion, because, you know, their excuse is always, I need the money. But a lot of times, ironically, the first people to say, it's not about money. Really? But you hate your job. Why are you there? I need the money. Oh, thought it wasn't about money. And what's true about us is, like, we have the potential to make a lot of money because we don't have a cap on what we're doing. We're not thinking about, here's my position, I'm going to hold it for 20 years. Like, me and you have, and we talk about this more than me and anybody else ever have in this shop. So hence the reason me and you are here right now. what is that? Like, why not just kind of fun? Like, what is your cap? What is your end goal? Like, what does it look like? Like, you want to be a tattoo artist, make X amount of money yearly, and then you're like, I made it. Or what does it look like?
There's no cap. I'm trying to keep going, and like, I don't even know that end goal because I don't have just like an end goal. It's just to keep progressing and see how far I can push myself. And it's still not just tattooing. It's still, that act of service of getting myself out there and exposing myself to people and hopefully motivating them to try new things and put themselves out there, and so they don't give a fuck about what
Right.
anyone thinks,
It's kind of like saying, because I believe this truly, if your intention is to motivate somebody, you're doing it for the wrong reason. It's like if your intention is to make money, you're doing it for the wrong reason, in my
Right.
opinion. Your intention should be to get better.
Yeah.
Your intention should be to be the best you can be. That
Right.
sounds so cheesy, but it's true.
It's true, yeah.
The better you are at being you, then you can start to take more steps.
Yeah.
Like, I always fear, I always think of life in like infinite dimensions, meaning like if I made this choice, I could have been this. If I made this
Right.
choice, I could be this. And it's like infinite.
Yeah.
But the choices I make lead me on the path I'm on, and I have to keep going.
Yeah.
So I'm infinitely changing my dimension. I'm
Right.
continuing to go. And I imagine somewhere in one of these alternate universes, I made the choice to not open a tattoo studio. I made the choice to not take on so many apprentices. I made the
Yeah.
choice to stay safe and stay little. I made money. It was fun. I'm an adventurous guy.
How boring.
So that's kind of a good point, because I'm like you in the sense that it sounds boring.
Yeah.
But I was medicating it, the boringness, with all kinds of adventure. I was
Yeah.
traveling the world. I was
Yeah.
seeing things, and I'm really glad it gave me that opportunity.
Right.
But then I realized, hold on though, like the career thing that I'm doing matters more to me than a lot of these other things.
Right.
Like, people say life's, not all about work. It's about travel. It's about fun. I don't know that I agree so
Yeah.
much. I think that would be if you just had fun all the time, I honestly don't think you would feel really great about who you are. So I started noticing that with my work. So even though I was having, so to speak, fun, I was traveling
Yeah.
and seeing things and living a life. People would say all the time, like, man, you're inspiring.
Right.
Still to this day, people, think of me as that guy, and I still, definitely travel, but work has become more important to me.
Right.
So as I've pursued it, I started realizing, like, I'm not ever going to be the 80-year-old dude who has to wonder what if.
Yeah.
I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And when I think about that, as if he like exists in some alternate universe, he's fucking miserable. Like, and here's why. It's not just because he's like, shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Right.
It's because what he doesn't know is that shoulda, woulda, coulda should have happened 50, 60 years earlier, so that you could know that that was just one fucking pebble,
Yeah.
one pebble into the drop or into the sea.
Yeah.
There's so many more. That was just the gateway. That was
Yeah.
just the knock on the door. And you thought at 80, shoulda, woulda, coulda, that was the thing.
Yeah.
And you don't even know that it wasn't. That was just the
Exactly.
beginning.
Well, and like, I never would have guessed 10 years ago I'd be doing what I am today. Like where I thought my life was going has gone,
Total pivot.
all over the place. And it's like, what the fuck? I'm over here, like doing all these different things. And that's just me looking back at my life for the past 30 years, which is nothing, I still have so much life to live. And so I can't wait to, in 10 more years, see all the pivots I've done and where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
It's not just this like straight path. Like when I was born, I was going to do this, and here I am.
Right. Never. Yeah, that's never the case. Now, I think people are expecting that, waiting for it, and when they don't find it, it must not be right.
Yeah.
They do that with their, again, relationships, with their job,
Yeah.
with their relationship with themselves.
Right.
So I would like to do this because it's going to obviously come up eventually. But since we're talking about kind of who Haley is right now too, let's talk about the fitness part. Like, because you've talked about like being a girl that's more stacked and
Yeah.
as a model and wants to make people feel good. And this is a very interesting I guess, concept for me, and I'm genuinely curious about your answer, then why do some of the things you're doing physically in terms of fitness, like why not just stay, again, kind of
Yeah.
touching on it, why not just stay the way you were? Like we just watched a video earlier
Yeah.
of when you first came in here, and that was not the same Haley that's sitting here now
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Why not stay her?
I mean, I could, and it'd be easy. That was me just living life, and I love food. I have a love for food, and it's great, and I love, good Southern food. I definitely didn't get my body from eating salads every day,
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
It would be easy, but again, I just like
There's
to push
something
myself, and
wants to push. Okay.
yeah, I just don't want to live an easy life,
Okay.
you know?
So what would you say to somebody? Because there's this weird dynamic especially for women, because like you said, mostly women watch you.
Yeah.
On my YouTube channel, mostly men watch me.
Right.
There's a dynamic that is, I don't want to say confusing, but maybe a little hard to understand for a lot of us, that like, if you want to be positive, you want to feel good about yourself, but you're out of shape and unhealthy, how do you reconcile still feeling beautiful? This is a genuine question I have.
Yeah.
I would love to hear your answer. How do you reconcile, like, you're beautiful how you are, but like, let's get better,
Yeah. Okay.
without saying you're beautiful how you are, but you know, it's
Yeah.
like, you're beautiful how you are. Just leave it there.
No, I mean, I think you are, but if you want to get healthier and you want to become more fit, then do it. It's what you want. And like, I only started doing like 75 hard, which was the hardest thing I've ever done, for sure. It was super hard. And there's people, like my trainer started it with me and failed.
Yeah.
She didn't finish it, and I was like, oh shit, like I am badass,
Yeah.
you know?
And you did the 75 hard, and you can absolutely say you're not the same person.
Oh no.
I mean, you don't even look like the same person.
Yeah.
You literally have transformed. Like, when I watched, like I said, the old clips of you
Yeah.
a year ago, I'm like, Haley, look at you.
I know, Sam's like,
Look what
I
you
didn't
did.
even know it was you, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's remarkable.
Well, and even that, like, I'm not ashamed of. Like, I loved myself then, and I was still taking pictures then and stuff. And this has been a weird balance, because I haven't promoted me doing 75 hard on social media. I've kept it more quiet, and people have asked me, and then I tell them, you know, only because I'm not pushing like that on people.
Right.
You know,
You're just doing yours.
Yeah, that was just what I wanted to do for myself, and it was a hard ass challenge that someone brought up to me, and I was like, I could do that. I'm fucking do it. You know, it's gonna be fucking hard, but I'm doing it. You know, on top of all the other things I'm doing. And honestly, on my TikTok, it was a very like controversial thing for myself, because here I am promoting being plus size and telling all these girls like, I'm beautiful, I'm confident, like I'm plus size. Here I am, all you other plus size girls, or whatever size you are, put yourself out there and stuff, and then they see me getting smaller.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a very weird thing, because then I have people, I still identify myself as
Right.
being plus size. You know, I'm not tiny. I'm definitely like in a lot better shape, but also like my goal was to get stronger. It wasn't just, you know, to be smaller. I never, when my trainer first asked me, because I started working with the trainer, because I'm like, okay, I need a meal plan and stuff. Like, I want to do this the right way, you know, like no cutting corners, you know, and I don't just want to walk, because just doing cardio literally kills me, you know. And I started lifting weights, and that was an outlet for me that brought a whole nother happiness to me. You know, that's my outlet. So I'm always happy, and then in the gym I'm like, fuck yeah. You know, getting all that negativity out, you know. And, but it makes me happy, and I like it, so I'm doing it for that reason. And there's some people that could try to say negative things about it. I think there's nothing negative if you want to change yourself, and it
Right.
wasn't even I was looking for the physical change.
So here's the controversial thing that I'll ask you, because I really want to hear your opinion on this, because my opinion is, well, it's my opinion, and this is your origins. That was good. I did that. Thank you.
You did it.
Later on, you can pat me on the back. So with, you know, talking, let's say, inspiring women to feel good about who they are, do you think part of it's inspiring to feel good about who you are? Because first off, you're all you get. Everything that you are, you've done to yourself, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, you are. If you're old enough to watch this and follow
Yeah.
you, and you know, whatever, you're probably an adult, and this is your life you've made.
Yeah.
So accept that.
Yeah.
Part of it's accepting that that's who you are. That's kind of my philosophy. But I want to know what you think about, or what you would say to girls who are like, let's say, to a point to where they're unhealthy. Like, it's dangerous, actually.
Yeah.
Like, usually you don't see very many people at a certain weight live past a certain age, and if they
Yeah.
do, they have to lose the weight.
Yeah.
Because they won't make it. It's very hard on your body physically.
Yeah.
So we know that there's, I mean, you could get skeptical about, like, is it the soccer player's softball body? Is it the volleyball body? Is it,
Yeah.
I mean, there's some, I guess you could say fluctuation, but there's a certain point where there's no possible way, in my opinion,
Yeah.
you could be your best and be super out of shape. There's no way
Yeah.
you feel good about who you are. You don't physically feel good, regardless of
Yeah.
how you look.
Right.
Regardless.
Yeah.
How you look is just the aftermath.
Yeah.
You don't feel good
Yeah.
about who you are, and you're not proud of yourself. And if you are, like, do you think it's possible to trick yourself to being proud of who you are, but yet maybe you shouldn't? Like, how does somebody reconcile that?
Yeah, that one's a hard one because I think, like, you should always be confident in who you are unless, like, obviously it's unhealthy, like that's a weird
Like, you
balance.
wouldn't want to tell somebody to hurt themselves,
Yeah,
obviously. So
no.
don't go doing things that are like, just eat whatever. Like, nobody's out there.
Yeah.
Even girls that I see doing the plus size stuff,
Yeah.
even that are maybe even on the, like, much larger size, if that's the right way to
Right.
put it, they're not going out there saying, eat whatever you want. Now, maybe some extreme examples, don't
Yeah.
quote me, but
Yeah.
I don't think most rational people are saying, I don't give a fuck, I eat what I want. And if I die at 40 but I lived happy. And I'm like, I don't see people doing that.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, like, I have a son, right? So I told you earlier, I want to live a long time, and I have a daughter who's, 19. She's going to give me grandbabies a lot sooner than my son is, hopefully, So I want to be a grandma, and I want to live a long life, and I'm also very active. Like, I ride Harleys, I ride dirt bikes, and I like to wakeboard, and I like to go wake surfing and stuff. So I need to be able to do
Right.
that,
So you want to live life.
Yeah.
And so what you're actually saying is to live life inadvertently,
Yeah.
to live a full life, you have to be as healthy as you can be
Yeah.
to get the most out of it. And the
Yeah.
more healthy you are, and I think worrying about the weight is actually in some ways not the point.
Yeah.
It's
The
let's
number's
get
never
you-
been my focus.
Yeah,
I don't care what my number is.
Right.
You know?
And so it leads me, this is kind of why I'm asking it. There's a quote that I love, and I actually don't know who coined it, so I won't even try to say, but it's the way you do something is the way you do everything. Well, I believe that's true, and you've just demonstrated that through this whole conversation. Like, when I talk to you about whether it's money, whether it's losing weight, you're not talking about money. Like, you're not saying, I want money, or I want fame, or I want numbers, or I want, followers, or I want this scale, like
Yeah.
to say a certain thing. It sounds to me like because you're the kind of person who likes to push through things and do hard shit, it's
Yeah.
like it's almost like a glutton for punishment, but like your positivity reigns through it, and it makes
Yeah.
you feel really well. You just shine while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Not that it's always easy. I'm sure we're all human, and there's
Yeah,
times
yeah.
where we struggle, but for the most part, what I'm saying is, if it's true that the way you do something is the way you do anything, it sounds to me like you're finally starting to apply that to your body.
Yeah.
The same thing you're doing with your work,
Yeah.
the same thing you're doing with your family, same thing you're doing with, your career and all this that you're starting that's new, all these plates you're spinning. You can't really extract. Like, for example, could you imagine yourself just letting yourself physically just completely go?
I've been there.
Okay.
I have.
You were there for
Yeah.
sure. Well, you're saying that. I'm not confirming it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I was.
But let's say, what allowed you to get there, and what got you out of it?
What got me in there was
Like, full disclosure.
depression, for sure. I got really depressed watching my husband die slowly for 3 years.
Yeah.
It was
It's totally expected, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to
Yeah.
be hard.
Yeah.
Something's going to have to, you're going to have to deal with some sort of repercussions of going through something very difficult.
Yeah. And it was this just blow to the stomach when having something so good and just watching it slowly get taken away from me and me not being able to do anything about it. It just fucked me up. And I didn't notice, like, when I look back at pictures, that's even another girl that I don't recognize, and I'm like, holy fuck. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I was living my thick life for sure.
Do you think you had to become that person to be who you are today?
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't skip that.
No.
To know and be who you are today, there's no way you're skipping that person you became.
Yeah, I think that I met Neil, and he definitely helped me grow, for sure. I was there to help him, like, get happiness through a very hard time, to help him make it through it. And a lot of people have told me that they don't think he would have made it as long as he did if he didn't have me. So we definitely, like, needed each other. I thought I was going to have him a lot longer than I did. But I needed, that had to happen. It was obviously, like, in my plan of life.
Yeah.
Whoever makes that plan.
Right.
That was just something that had to happen. And, I've been through other tough things growing up and stuff, and through childhood that helped me push myself to be better. So this was just one of those things that was that for me, you know?
It's like being forged in fire, they say.
Yeah.
But also there's another quote that I do love, which is suffering builds character.
Yeah.
I actually believe that, you know, and people know this when they watch celebrities, like people they love and then find out that like there was a darkness in them.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us deal with that. And like, I think that anybody who's funny, genuinely like funny,
Yeah.
not just says dad jokes or something,
Right.
but like actually a comedic person.
I do great dad jokes.
Yes, you do. You actually probably do the best ones. It sucks. I try so hard. And I'm a dad. So I think that that's true. I think that there's something to be said about the people who have that comedy. It was their way absolutely of dealing with something.
Yeah.
They needed it.
Yeah.
They had to find it. Like you said with doodling earlier, you know, finding some sort of artistic, creative something to do. It was
Yeah.
born out of something, right?
Yeah.
That's a really hard message, but at the same time too, like I would say if there's something people can take away from this other than getting to know you,
Yeah.
it's understanding, because I know we both agree to this. Nothing in life is going to come to you that's worth having that's easy.
Yeah.
And if it is easy, beware.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna
exactly.
get hard.
Very weary.
It's, yeah. And even if it
Prepare
doesn't,
for it.
yeah, it's real, and you're not going to escape it. Like, you know, you always hear those things like, I never thought it happened to me. Well, it will.
Yeah.
Something will happen to you that you're going to say, I never thought I didn't think I was going to be. I hear these stories.
Yeah.
And maybe some people skirt through life without it. Maybe. Lucky you, count your fucking blessings.
Yeah.
Although I don't think they know who they are.
Yeah.
Because to them, their worst pain will always be their worst pain. And so they think that that's the same as you when you talk about yours.
Yeah.
But when you're really, truly initiated, and it sounds like in life many times you have been, I think you dig deep down inside out of necessity, and that shows who somebody really, truly is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Exposes who you are. And especially eventually who you become. I love the word lately, you know, to become something.
Yeah.
And I think with people watching, taking away from the fact that like you can still, you know, maintain who you are as a person.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean anybody has to compare themselves to being you
Right,
and whatnot. It just means if you can do it, it sets an example. If you can do it, we can all do it.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is true, because so many people break and they fall, and there's nothing less inspiring, like you said earlier, there's nothing less inspiring about somebody who's just accepts like where they are and just
Yeah.
stays there.
Yeah.
It's like in that environment, which is why I've promised not to create an environment here that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
God, nothing sucks the fucking soul out of me more than that. I
Yeah.
want to be around people who are like, let's fucking kill it.
Yeah.
Let's
for
get it. Let's
sure.
figure some shit out.
Yeah.
That's absolutely who you are, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's why we work so well together. So I'm going to say one last thing. When you first started, you know, coming into the shop and we started kind of getting to know each other a little more on a personal
Yeah.
level, and we wrote down, and this is, I think, so fucking cool, because see, in life, there's things you want to do and that don't exist.
Yeah.
It's just in your head.
Yeah.
And we have the fucking power. So anybody listening to your stories, especially, absolutely cannot deny that we individually, and anybody watching, has the power to say, this is just a thought.
Yeah.
It's not real. It could easily be written off. Like, I don't have to do this. I could just stay simple and easy, which, by
Yeah.
the way, I believe that the long road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
And he who suffers remembers, suffering builds character. That's a fact. The way you do everything is the way you do anything. The way you do something is the way you do everything.
Yeah.
I think it's just a slow death they're waiting for in a miserable fucking way if
Yeah.
they allow these comforts to come in and not push themselves. So if they don't have the desire to push themselves, well, if they're not living out that desire, I think everybody knows deep down inside.
Yeah.
Everybody has the intuition to know, I should probably do this scary, hard fucking thing. And why they're doing it, I'm not always sure, because I know people who've suffered. I know people who've been through a lot, and they just don't seem to get it. So I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe maybe sometimes the train's going to skip some people. It's leaving, and some people just don't get on. I don't
Yeah.
know. But for those who want to, I believe that's why we do this.
Yeah.
Like, somebody was that for you. Somebody was that train for you. And then you said, I'm jumping on. I'm
Yeah.
fucking getting it. People inspired you, moved you, whatever motivated you. So when you first came in here, we wrote down I've always been designing my perfect day for years, like what that
Yeah.
means. And you obviously, we've talked about this. What was the thing that turned my day that I designed for me. Nobody, and it didn't necessarily exist, but I was working on it. I was going to push it into existence, make it exist. What was the one thing within it that I knew 100% was going to be like the catalyst of massive change within my already daily schedule I had? Do you remember what it was?
This.
It was. It was this. But why? Like why? We sat for hours talking about it. What was it about creating media? Essentially, is what it is in the end. Why was that so powerful? What was so why was that important?
I think one, we were always talking about great things and off camera, and we very easily have these conversations even after we're done recording. You know, it's just, we'll literally be walking out, we stop right here, we stop at the front while we're closing everything down. Outside in the parking lot, we're still talking, you know. It's very easy, and we're like, why are we not sharing this with people, you know? And just, you know, your clarity. That word was like it.
100%. And it's interesting you say that because again, whether you adopt this word as part of your identity or not, it's definitely part of who you are, which is to be of service. Like, what were we thinking about? It's like, oh, so many people are going to think we're cool. You know how many likes we're going to get a review? We've never, I've never even concerned myself. I never said I'm going to make media and be like, oh, we're going to blow up and get It's never even been a concern of mine. Now, I'm not saying eventually we won't have goals, like mile markers to work on.
Exactly.
But it's never been for any reason other than genuinely like thinking like this is important.
Yeah, we'd say things, we're like, people need to hear this. Like, you know.
100%. Absolutely. Just like people watching this, I think there's definitely somebody who's going to absolutely admit, if you've made it this far into this first episode, that there's something that you got out of it. And so they need to hear it. I know there's things that we've said that at one point in my life I needed to hear. So that's really cool. Is there any closing remarks until we get to the second episode eventually that you would like to say to people?
Oh.
Like, give them a Haley moment.
A Haley moment?
Yeah, give them a Haley moment.
When you say that, I just get all awkward.
I like it. It's so great.
I'm just like,
there we go. You just got it. But that's the best part about this is like it. You know, it pushes you, right? Like us doing this isn't easy, right? Like people watching this might think, oh, it's so natural for them. Like there had to be a point at today where you're like, should I just call this off? Like, do I even need to do this? Like, is this important? Like, what? There's
I'm
like
not ready to tattoo my leg.
But you see, there's always there's still life to live, and it's not like it's necessarily like we're still humans and we have to deal with like this, you know, sort of like, should I even be doing this? Like, is this important? But we're committed to it. We're not sitting here trying to get fucking famous.
Well, we enjoy it. I think that's one thing, and obviously you're not going to always, not everyone's going to be able to just do things they enjoy their whole entire life, you know, but we enjoy this. We literally look forward to it, and you know, we do our Wednesdays and we're talking about adding another day, you know, and doing more.
Which is this.
Exactly. Like,
we're doing it now.
It does, you know, it gives us things just as we give others, like doing this. Yeah. And we have fun doing it, and, you know, and I have a blast doing it.
It's going to develop us. It's going to connect to people, which is really important. So it checks off all kinds of boxes.
Okay, so when I first started doing the podcast, or even before I started, I talked to you about it. And that was before I started my apprenticeship here.
Right.
It's when you were just tattooing me and we were talking about it, you know, and I told you like, hey, I'm going to start this podcast. And I just remember you just telling me like, be prepared to suck. And I was like, okay. And so literally like, after the first couple episodes and stuff, I'm like, I don't care. I'm preparing to suck.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, who fucking cares?
You're gonna fuck it up.
We're doing it whether no one listens to it or who. I don't know how many people are going to listen to it, you know?
Yeah.
Could be no one. It's just me,
right.
You know?
and when you're doing it for that reason, I think it shows that it's more genuine, which is cool. Not that that's like our intentions to be genuine. It's just us being us.
Yeah.
But it's really remarkable. For me, in the end, I think really what it is the magic with everything that I do, especially here on out in my life, like, and this started as a kid, I started doing this, but knowing, again, going back to what I said earlier, that there's a concept you have in your mind, an idea, a fantasy, a dream, a thought, whatever it may be. I just made actually a video about this without you in here recently. And I'm really looking forward to doing more because it's teaching me how to write a train of thought out and explain it thoroughly, which communication to me is really important, right? And to everybody it's important. But I want to be really good at communicating. So I have this idea of somebody I want to be, right? There's this ideal person that I want to be.
Yeah.
And a big part of who that person is a communicator.
Yeah.
So I have to work on that. Well, years ago, there was a point where I didn't do any of this.
Yeah.
And it was just an idea. The fact that now it's happening and I've I don't want to say forced or pushed or anything, but it's now materializing, right? It was just a concept. Having the experience going from literally conception to reality,
Yeah.
and you were part of that. You facilitated this.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the best words I have. I shouldn't say I hate to say it. This is exactly how it feels. It's like godlike. It's like, this didn't exist. This room didn't exist. These
Right.
colors didn't exist. Me and you sitting here
Yeah.
didn't exist last year like this. And then here we are because we've decided to make it exist. There's something to say about just that process. Oh man, I think most people have no idea what I'm talking about. For those that do, it's like,
Gets you
let's get it.
Get the goosies,
Yeah.
and I get excited.
That's exactly it. So that's why we wanted to do this episode. That's why we're
Yeah.
going to do more and share with you guys. We love hearing your feedback. We
Yes.
literally love hearing you from the comments, DMs. Like we have our live episode weekly. Join us there. We literally look forward to that for us because it's like really exciting, and we do put a lot of effort into it. We're all very busy, just like you guys are. We have a lot going on, but this is something very special to us, which is why we're partaking. And what we hope you get from it, is going to be many things, but what we hope is that you get something enough for you to respond to us and share and communicate. That's super fun for us. So I hope you guys enjoyed our first episode of an apprentice, the origins of an apprentice. I always get that wrong. Fucking
okay.
Rumpelstiltskin. And it's a tongue twister. And I hope you guys enjoyed me introducing to you, maybe for the first time. First time callers, long time listeners, Haley, and following her story, we're going to catch up to it again here in the future. We're going to start doing a few of these episodes, and then once she becomes an artist, which she will, we're going to start again there. So you guys have a whole slew of things coming your way. So keep watching. Haley, is there anything you want to anywhere you'd want to tell them to communicate with you or follow you or see, like, to keep updated with like what you're doing or just get to know you better?
Here's my QR code. Just kidding.
We do need that.
I know.
We do need that. QR codes are actually awesome.
Yeah. I love getting, DMs. I love getting that feedback. And so I have Instagram, I have Haley Chaos and Haley Chaos Tattoos. My TikTok is Haley Chaos if you want to follow me on more avenues. And I love getting feedback everywhere, you know.
Definitely.
I even take the negative, I'll take the
100%.
criticism. It helps me be better. Yeah.
Act Full, we screenshot and put on our lives.
Oh yeah.
That's part of what we do. So yeah, I'm going to end it there, and we look forward to episode number 2 and bringing that to you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
See ya.